Hey guys, it's Ornlu. So apparently the patch for January 21st, 2020 dropped today. And so I'll be going through the patch notes with you guys, what my thoughts on it are, all that good stuff. Um, there's a lot of stuff here, but a lot of it's pretty minor, so I'll just do my best to uh, go over the important things. So, first, performance. A lot of people have performance issues with this game, so it looks like they're adjusting with the RAM usage. So hopefully that will help some people. Livestock can now be garrisoned inside transport ships. This is something that was a thing in user patch, but wasn't a thing in DE. So now you can do that. Helps a bit on stuff like migration, where you do use transport ships or like pilgrims or Nile Delta or Descent Ring and stuff like that. The base speed of controllable animals. I assume this means sheep move faster? Rather... Oh, no, this is the super speed horse bug that you saw on Step, where you could, like, shift click it, and then it just goes zoomy zoom zoom zoom. Bug fixes for villagers. But oh, this one actually happened uh, in a show match I think I cast, where if you, and this was actually I think always the thing, so if you were to hit a gate with a petard and you hit from the side of the gate, so where the columns are, it wouldn't work. Like, you would do 0 damage to the gate. Now that's fixed, thankfully. Fishing ships will now put more effort into seeking out new fishing spots if their original point is depleted. This is something I noticed on DE. I wasn't sure if it was like just me being bad or something, but it did seem like fishing ships would just give up too quickly, so that's nice. Guard hotkey, it's not too big of a deal. Traders will now prioritize the market that is furthest away from trading. That's a nice quality of life change that we could have used 20 years ago. But hey, I'll take it. I guess monks were healing too much, a little bit. Multiple town centers can now be queued up for construction by holding the shift key during placement mode. Okay, so I guess you can spam extra town centers now or something. Where waypoints would sometimes display incorrectly. The combat abilities. Not sure what this is. Canceling spies now returns the full cost. In like the 1 second it takes spies to research? I think it's like 3 seconds actually. Canceling the units in the production queue will now return the actual amount of resources initially spent on the unit. I guess this is for what if discounts come in. Additional score points for killing dismounted conics is pretty funny. Anyway, here's the meat and potatoes. The balance changes. So the changes are actually a bit smaller than I thought there were, but there are some changes that, you know, it's definitely worth talking about, and is still the primary reason I made this video. So, in general, Mayans and Chinese will no longer be granted their bonus starting villagers until a town center has been constructed. This is a big one for nomad maps. So in case this is unclear, guys, think of the Inca llama that they get for free. You don't get it until you build your first town center. Same thing with Mayan and Chinese extra villagers. Mayans obviously with 1 extra, Chinese with 3 extra. So Chinese will start with 3 villagers on Nomad. Mayans will start with 3 villagers on Nomad. This is a huge nerf to Chinese on Nomad. It will probably make the Civ one of the lower tier ones if this works like I think it would probably make Mayan or Chinese at least like B tier Mayans as well. Just because you still can't get the dock right away as Chinese, and you can't get your TC up faster. Yeah, you'll have the extra villagers, and you can get loom pretty quickly. Extra TC space is nice. You don't have to get the house as quickly, but we'll have to see. I think Chinese are definitely going to be way worse. Mayans, it's not as big of a deal. They only had the 1 extra villager, and they only started with minus 50 food, but it's a little bit of a nerf to them for sure. But that's something I think is a good change, and will make, I think, a bit more diversity for Nomad-style maps. I mean, that applies to Step too. I mean, like, by Nomad, I mean any map where you don't start with a town center. Battle Elephant, Standard and Elite, reduced training time from 28 to 24 seconds. So now they'll train a little bit faster. Battle elephants, I believe, they already train faster than knights. Knights have, I believe, a 30-second train time. So now elephants, you can churn those elephants out of stables, man. Obviously, a little bit of a buff to all of the battle elephant civilizations: Burmese, Vietnamese, Malay, Khmer. Will this make them more viable? It's still a lot of resources you gotta front. Maybe like early Castle Age Malay battle elephant rush, this helps. Like if you go with the whole forward stables thing, drop in some cheap battle elephants. That might be a bit more viable now, come to think of it. Other than that, it's just a small boost if you're going for elephants. Specific bonuses. Arambai, standard and elite, reduced the wood cost from 80 wood 65 gold to 70 wood 60 gold. So that is -5 wood, -5 gold. So a little bit of a cost decrease. I think the general consensus is that Arambai were over-nerfed. They were super OP when Rajas came out, and then they were nerfed very, very heavily, and now Burmese are feeling a little bit on the weaker side. That's still a pretty hefty price tag for a unit, though. I mean, I guess it's kind of like knight resources, but 75 wood in Castle Age is pretty heavy when you're trying to throw down extra TCs, add in extra farms, that sort of thing. It still doesn't cost food, so that's definitely a good thing. Will this make Burmese more viable? Yeah, definitely. It's a small change, but it's a good one, I think. It's a bit easier to go for Arambai. Chinese now receive block printing technology as a civilization bonus. Excuse me. The wording here is pretty unclear, but I saw in the Discord server that the FE guys, it's not like you get block printing for free. The civilization just now has access to the technology. So Chinese were one of the first civilizations in history to invent block printing. Essentially, not to go full East Asian history nerd on you, the Chinese invented woodblock printing around the 1000 mark, and then it wasn't that popular, and then Korea invented the metal block printing as opposed to wood, and that kind of took off a lot later, and that was like 100 or so years later. So, like, yeah, it would make sense for Chinese as the people who invented like the very beginnings of modern for the time block printing. Yeah, it makes sense for them, but okay, gameplay wise, Chinese, their weakness has always been to siege onagers. They didn't have any good way to deal with siege onagers. And siege onagers obviously slaughtered Chukonu like crazy. They didn't have hussar, they didn't have bombard cannon, they didn't have block printing monks, because block printing monks with redemption, which Chinese do have, are a pretty good counter to siege onagers. Now they have access to it. It's certainly a more innocuous change than giving them bombard cannon too, but I don't like it. Chinese are really strong. Like, even though they're nerfed on Nomad, they're still really strong on most other maps. Like Regicide Fortress, any Arabia type map. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this one, to be honest. Anyway, moving on. Khmer. Farmers no longer require mills or town centers to drop off food. This one is a strange one, because in practicality, it's a farming rate increase. So it's like the same thing as the Slav bonus, but a little bit different. So what this means is you can have a bunch of houses like scattered around your farmers. You can build farms anywhere pretty much. And then you can put some houses nearby, and if you're getting raided, you can jump the villagers in the houses to protect them. And then you don't have to worry about them being close to TCs or mills or whatever. Definitely, the longer the game goes on, the more farms you make, the more of a bonus this is. Because, early game, your villagers are right next to the town centers with your first, 8 or so farms. Now it's going to be... sigh. Good thing I'm not editing that out. Anyway, your first 8 farmers are pretty efficient. So, but it's like once you add like the second ring of farmers, or like those poor farmers that you put around your mill with the forage bushes that always die to scout cavalry and stuff like that. Beyond that, it should be more efficient. And of course the anti-raiding stuff throughout the game should be pretty nice. I just think it's weird. Like, we already have faster farmers with Slavs, Aztecs, Vikings, now Khmer. It's just like, how many different ways can you word a bonus that in practicality gives you faster farmers? Regardless, it should be a nice buff to Khmer, especially in Castle and Imperial Age. Khmer's biggest problem was Castle Age, where they really didn't have anything going for them. Now, we'll have to see the exact effects of this, but if it helps your food income, that's what Khmer need the most. I mean, you need your food for your elephants. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. Kind of weird, but I think it should help the Civ be a bit more viable. We'll just have to see what exactly that would, like how much of a bonus that is, I guess. Anyway, Persians. Increase the cost of archer units after researching Kemendarin from 50 to 60 wood. Yeah, trash bows were pretty OP. I don't think anyone was too sure how good they would be at first, and then they realized, wait a minute, they're actually insane. I honestly think this could be bumped up to 70, because 70 would be this total cost. It would be the same total cost of resources as a crossbowman, but completely on the wood side of things, because normally crossbowmen are 25 wood, 45 gold. You add those together, you get 70 resources total. So you're actually still getting a little bit of a discount, even with the 60 wood. Yeah, trash bows are still going to be super good. Like, I don't think Persians are going to be too negatively affected by this. Like, yeah, it's a little bit of a nerf, but Persian eco is super good. You don't worry about picking Persians on pretty much any map. Then finally, Slavs. Ranged infantry units are no longer affected by the Druzhina technology. Okay. I guess that's just a thing for custom scenarios or whatever, because Slavs don't get ranged infantry. They have 2 infantry units, champions and halberdiers, in their respective lines. Those aren't ranged, so I guess it's like if you're giving a Slav player throwing axemen in a custom game, it would have benefited from Druzhina, which would have been pretty funny. But no longer a thing. Anyway, they fixed a bunch of campaigns. Pretty much all of them I think are good. I read through them. You guys can read through them too. I'll link the post in the video description. But as someone who is lover of campaigns, I think most of these changes are pretty good. Random maps. So, gold, stone, and relics will more effectively avoid cliffs during map generation. Thumbs up for me. Relics will also now avoid forests more effectively. Prevent scouts from spawning in forest. Starting sheep will now spawn between 7 and 8 tiles from town center. Before it was 8 to 9 tiles, so you should be getting your starting 4 sheep faster and more consistently. That is, I think, a nice little change. I wasn't a big fan of like the KOTD2 start with the goat under your TC or whatever. I think that was in Hidden Cup 2 as well. I like this change, though. It's a little bit more consistency. And of course, avoiding problems where you have imbalanced maps is good. Now from a team wall instead of overlapping, this is just nice. On a wall chance of reduce the chance of them being blocked. Again, that's good. Restored relic count to 5 and are also more evenly distributed. So on all these maps, of which Black Forest and Team Islands are currently in the ranked map pool, now have 5 relics. This is kind of interesting. Black Forest and Team Islands, it can be very much decided on like, okay, your half of the map has 3 relics, my half of the map has 2 relics. You have a slight advantage. But, we'll see. Fixed a bug, we're treating some... oh yeah, that was just a little bit of a bug. Dragon Forest can now appear in more African-themed maps. I'm not sure if this means that Acacia maps are going away. I don't think they are, but I wish they were. But I think Dragon Forests are clumped up like normal trees, so... who knows? King of the Hill. The monument now generates resources for the controlling player. This is something that Nilly does in his King of the Hippo tournaments. Yeah, I think that's the one. King of the Hill, yeah. So you get a small amount of resources like a Feitoria when you control the monument. It, gives you extra incentive to fight for it early and often, which is nice. All gold, stone, relics, straggler trees, boar, sheep, and fish have been removed from game set to infinite resources. Spam your hearts away. Spam your heart out, yeah. Map generation layout. The secondary gold and stone deposits are more consistent and now more closely resemble their original values on the following maps. Like all of them. Oh, I missed this earlier. Acacia forests have been replaced by palm dragons. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Seems good. I hated the acacia trees. Those are the ones, in case you guys don't know, where you could have a bunch of holes in them. No, you don't. A Mediterranean season. Of the good old 5 seasons. Spring, autumn, winter, summer, and Mediterranean. I guess it'll be pretty. These are a lot of really minor changes just to make the map balance a bit more fair. And this is for random map scripting. I'm sure most of you guys don't care about that. Custom map pools are always reset to coastal after starting a new game session. Add a password filter to the lobby browser. That's I want to sort by rank. I don't know. And those are just some bug fixes. Some graphical, audio updates. Oh yeah, this is actually, I think, a pretty big one. The muzzle and sound delay of all these units has now been fixed. So what would happen a lot of the times with gunpowder units is that you'd see the little poof of gunpowder smoke, but it would still take a little bit of a second before the unit would actually fire, making the micro really annoying. So they fixed that. And there's just been some AI and pathfinding improvements. Let's see, nothing, I think. It's kind of like pathing was just an overall unit problem. This one is pretty specific, though. Rams were really bad when you're trying to get them to do anything. Some scripting stuff. Best civ information on the player profile shows the best civilization for both single player and multiplayer. Oh, sure, whatever. Unit stats are no longer inconsistent with tech trees from Dark Age start. I'm sure all that stuff's pretty not that important. Anyway, just a lot of little other bug fixes. You can read the full changes yourself. So just to quickly summarize, patches are good. We're getting them every month, it seems. And generally speaking, everything is being pushed in the right direction. There's still a long way to go. Even if pathfinding is significantly improved, it will likely still not be as good as it was on classic AOC or with user patch or with all that stuff that we're used to. Still, improvements are important. I still think the lobby system, not being able to find games after a certain amount of time, or not being able to sort by amount of spectators, or not by amount of spectators, by rating, so I can spectate the games, all that stuff. It still very much needs to happen, but we're moving in the right direction. So definitely let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. And yeah, thank you for watching, and go play some Age of Empires.